A blood-red moon looms above the sky, its light bleeding across the stone courtyard of the pack. Wolves circle in human form, their eyes glowing faintly, their growls echoing like a judgment drum. Chains clatter. Selene is dragged forward, dirt and blood streaking her face. The crowd chants, "Traitor, traitor!" At the front, Mira, elegant, venom in her smile, leans against the Alpha's throne. She whispers in his ear, her eyes locked on Selene with cold satisfaction. The Alpha rises, his voice thundering. "By pack law, Selene, you are guilty of treason. Tonight you are stripped of name, rank, and home. You walk this night as nothing, or you die." The pack howls in savage approval. Selene staggers to her knees, voice raw with fury and heartbreak. "I bled for this pack, I killed for this pack. And now you let her." Her gaze pierces Mira. "Poison you against me?" Gasps ripple through the crowd. Mira's smirk only widens. The Alpha's hand rises to signal her final judgment. But then, silence. From the tree line beyond the courtyard, a pair of golden eyes pierces the darkness. The eyes don't blink. They don't move. They watch her. A low, dangerous voice slips through the wind, unheard by all but Selene. "They cast you aside, but you were never theirs. You are mine." Selene's breath hitches. Her wolf stirs for the first time since the trial began. Stay with this story. Subscribe. The forest is waiting, the Alpha is waiting, the forest is too quiet. No wind, no crickets, no howl to answer the blood moon above. Only the pounding of Selene's heartbeat, ragged and unsteady. Her knees buckle. She collapses into the dirt, clutching her ribs where the guard's blows had left her bruised and broken. The metallic tang of blood fills her mouth. She drags herself against the roots of an old oak, her breath shallow, her wolf weak. And then the golden eyes draw closer. Selene bares her teeth, a growl trembling in her throat, though she has no strength to fight. "Show yourself," she hisses. From the shadows he steps forward, a man tall and broad, his presence filling the clearing like a storm. Dark hair frames a sharp, scarred face. But it's his aura, ancient, feral, commanding, that makes the air feel heavier. Darius. Every pack pup grew up on whispered warnings of his name. The rogue Alpha. The wolf who destroyed his own pack and vanished into legend. Selene forces herself to stand, though her knees tremble. "Keep your distance," she warns, though her voice cracks. He tilts his head, studying her like prey, but his eyes gleam with something more dangerous than hunger recognition. He steps closer. Selene stumbles back. "You reek of lies and betrayal," he murmurs, circling her like a predator. "But not your own. No. Someone else painted you the villain." Her blood chills. "How do you know that?" Darius doesn't answer. Instead, he kneels before her. She flinches, expecting claws, fangs, death. But instead, he presses his hand against her side, over the bruise. Warmth seeps through her skin. Power. His energy flows into her, knitting torn flesh, steadying her pulse. Her eyes widen. Why help me?" A low, dangerous smile curves his lips. "Because your story isn't finished, Selene, and I don't let fate waste what belongs to me." She jerks away, fury replacing her fear. "I belong to no one." The forest answers with a crack of branches. Wolves, her old pack. The scent hits her nose, Mira's men. Selene stiffens. She has no strength to fight. Panic claws at her chest. But Darius rises, towering over her, and in a flash of movement his wolf bursts free. Black fur, fangs dripping. A beast larger than any Alpha she's ever seen. The golden-eyed wolf lunges into the trees with a roar that shakes the ground. Screams rip through the night. Bones crack. The scent of blood spreads thick and fast. Selene watches, frozen between horror and awe. Darius returns moments later, his muzzle slit crimson, his breathing steady as though slaughter were nothing. His golden eyes lock onto her. He steps close, so close she feels the heat of his body. Her wolf trembles inside her chest, responding to him in a way she cannot control. His lips brush her ear as he leans in, his voice deep, final, undeniable. You were destined to be mine. Selene jerks back, heart hammering, his words echoing like chains around her throat. Destined to be yours? She spits, glaring at him. You don't even know me. Darius's golden eyes don't waver. He straightens, every inch of him radiating command. I know enough. I know you were cast out for crimes you didn't commit. I know your Alpha was deceived, and I know the one who wanted you gone most. Selene stiffens. She tries to harden her voice, but it comes out shaky. Say it. He circles her slowly, his presence suffocating. Mira. Her breath catches, fury and disbelief colliding. She shakes her head violently. No, you're lying. She's my sister. My blood. Darius tilts his head, as though amused by her defiance. And blood has never betrayed blood before? His tone drips with bitter irony, his scars catching the moonlight. Selene's knees weaken, but she forces herself upright. You weren't there. You don't know. Mira would never. He cuts her off, his voice low, edged like a blade. She already has, and she will again. Selene growls, her wolf stirring weakly in protest. You want me to turn against her because it serves you. You're a rogue, Darius. Every word from your mouth drips poison. His lips curve in a cruel smile. Then taste the truth for yourself. From his cloak, he pulls something wrapped in black cloth. Slowly, deliberately, he unwraps it. The moonlight strikes silver. Selene's breath stutters. Her eyes widen. It's her pack's crest, an ornate wolf sigil set in metal, engraved with the Alpha's seal. Her voice cracks. That belongs to the Council. No one outside the pack could have it. Darius steps closer, holding it just out of her reach. Yet it found its way to me, delivered by the same hands that chained you. Do you know whose scent clings to it, Selene? Her wolf claws at her chest, torn between rage and denial. She shakes her head, tears stinging her eyes. Stop. He leans in, his whisper burning against her ear. Mira. The world tilts. Her mind flashes back to Mira's smug smile at her trial, her hand clutching the Alpha's arm. Selene swallows hard, bile rising. Still, she forces out a snarl. I won't believe you, not until I see it with my own eyes. Darius's gaze sharpens, predatory. Then open them wide, little wolf, because the lies around you are darker than the night itself. He presses the crest into her trembling palm. Its metal is cold, its weight unbearable. Her knees nearly give way. She whispers, broken. Mira. The cold weight of the pack crest burns in Selene's palm. Her breath comes in sharp, uneven gasps, her wolf clawing at her chest in restless agitation. It doesn't prove anything, she whispers, her voice cracking even as the truth gnaws at her. Darius stands before her, golden eyes glowing like fire through the darkness. It proves enough. She sold you out. She stripped you of everything, and she will not stop until you are ashes under her feet. Selene shoves the crest back at him, fury flashing. You think I'll take your word? You want me under your command, don't you? Just another pawn to play in your games. Darius doesn't flinch. Instead, he steps closer, his voice low, dangerous, steady. Not a pawn, an ally. Swear your loyalty, Selene, and I'll protect you. You'll never be caged again. Never dragged in chains. Never silenced. Her throat tightens. His words cut deep, too deep. A part of her longs to say yes, to surrender her exhaustion and fear. But another part burns with defiance. I don't need you. The air shifts. The forest seems to lean in. Darius tilts his head, studying her stubbornness like it amuses him. Then pray your wolf heals fast, little one, because your enemies are already closer than you think. A snapping twig, the stench of steel and bloodlust. Selene whirls too late. Figures melt from the tree line, cloaked assassins bearing the scent of her former pack. Their eyes gleam, their weapons glint beneath the blood moon. There she is, one growls. The traitor dies tonight. Selene's chest tightens in panic. Her wolf stirs weakly, but she has no strength to shift, no power to fight. She stumbles back, teeth bared but hopelessly outnumbered. The assassins rush forward, and Darius moves. He explodes into motion, faster than her eyes can follow. His wolf tears free, black fur rippling, fangs flashing like silver blades. The first assassin falls with a scream, throat ripped open. The second is hurled into a tree with bone-cracking force. But more surge in. Blades slash, wolves snarl. The night fills with chaos, blood spraying, bodies crashing, howls echoing. Selene drops to her knees, watching with horror and awe as Darius fights like a storm-given flesh, unstoppable, untouchable, until a glint of silver. A blade slips past his guard. Selene's scream rips through the night. Darius! The weapon sinks deep into his side. His roar shakes the trees, his golden eyes blazing in fury as he tears the attacker apart. The forest falls silent, assassins broken and scattered. Darius stumbles, dropping to one knee. His hand grips the wound, dark blood spilling between his fingers. His breath comes sharp, ragged. Selene rushes to him, her heart pounding. His golden eyes lift to hers, dimming at the edges, but his voice is steady as ever. Poison, he rasps. They poisoned the blade. Selene's blood runs cold. The forest is too still. The air reeks of blood and iron. Selene presses her trembling hands against the gaping wound in Darius's side. But the black veins of poison creep faster, pulsing under his skin. Stay with me, she whispers, her voice breaking. Don't you dare die, not after everything. Darius's golden eyes flicker, dimming like fading embers. His lips twist in a weak smirk. Told you, you'd need me. Now look who needs you. Panic claws at her chest. She knows ordinary healing won't work. The poison is laced with wolfsbane, a death sentence even for an alpha. But somewhere deep in her memory, a half-forbidden whisper rises. Her mother's voice, old magic, sealed and shunned by the pack. Her hands shake. Her wolf snarls against her ribs, urging her on. Selene grits her teeth. I swore I'd never use it. But if I don't, he'll die. She presses her palm to the wound, blood mingling with blood. The words taste like fire on her tongue as she chants the ancient spell. Power surges, searing through her veins, wrapping around Darius like chains of silver light. His body jerks violently, his claws digging into the earth. Then it happens. A blinding surge. A tether of energy snaps into place between them, burning through flesh and soul. Selene gasps as his heartbeat slams into hers, echoing in her chest. His pain floods her body, his rage, his memories hers now too. Darius roars, a sound that shakes the ground, and the poison burns away in a flash of golden fire. He collapses forward, catching himself on his hands, chest heaving. His eyes snap open, glowing brighter than ever. Selene stumbles back, horrified, clutching her chest. What have I done? Darius rises slowly, blood still staining him, but strength returning. His gaze locks on her, sharp, unyielding. You've bound yourself to me, he says quietly. A soul bond, forged in forbidden fire. My life is yours. Yours is mine. Her breath catches. Chains she never wanted now coil around her heart, tighter than any prison. That night, exhaustion drags her into sleep. But peace never comes. She dreams. The bond pulls her deeper, showing her fragments of Darius's past. She sees him younger, feral, his wolf wreathed in shadows. She feels his hunger, his fury, and then a blood-soaked battlefield. Darius stands over a kneeling alpha, sword dripping red. The man begs for mercy. Darius's face is calm, cold, merciless. Without hesitation, he drives the blade through the leader's chest. Selene gasps in the dream, horror flooding her veins. And then Darius turns. His golden eyes pierce the dreamscape, pierce her. You should not be here. The world shatters. Selene bolts awake, sweat slicking her skin, heart hammering in her chest. Her breath catches as she realizes the truth. She hasn't just bound herself to his life. She's bound to his past. Selene shot upright, lungs burning, her nightclothes clinging to sweat. The dream still echoed in her skull, Darius's blade sinking into the Alpha's chest, his golden eyes unflinching, merciless. Her pulse thrashed against her ribs, but what terrified her most wasn't just the memory. It was the bond. She could still feel the echo of his rage lingering inside her like smoke after fire. A voice came from the shadows. "You saw it, didn't you?" She spun. Darius leaned against the doorframe, bare-chested, his wound fully healed, his gaze sharp as a blade. His tone was calm, but the tension in his body betrayed him. "Don't," Selene hissed. "Don't pretend you didn't slaughter him in cold blood." He stepped closer, golden eyes glowing faintly in the firelight. "I won't deny it. That Alpha deserved death, and more will follow." Selene's throat tightened. "More? What do you mean?" Darius's jaw hardened, his voice low and steady. "Your pack, the ones who betrayed you. They are the rot that spreads through this land. I will tear it out, root and stem." Her chest constricted. The betrayal still burned, but to hear him speak of open war, of bloodshed, it was madness. "So that's it?" she whispered. "I'm just your pawn in this crusade of vengeance?" Darius tilted his head, studying her, a flicker of something unreadable in his eyes. "Not pawn, weapon. You are bound to me, Selene. Together we are stronger than any Alpha alive. With you I can end them all." The bond pulsed then, as if answering his words. Her wolf stirred uneasily, torn between rage and recognition. She wanted to deny him, to fight him, but the tether thrummed louder than her own heartbeat. "I didn't choose this," she spat. "Neither did I," he growled back, stepping closer until their bond hummed like lightning between them. "But fate doesn't care what we want. It only cares what we become." The words lingered, dark and heavy, as Selene turned away, fighting the storm rising inside her. She couldn't tell if he was her savior or the beginning of her destruction. But beyond their fragile alliance, something darker stirred. Far away beneath a moonless sky, a council convened. Cloaked figures circled a fire burning black, their eyes glinting with wolf-light. Alphas from rival packs, their voices dripping venom. The rogue has forged the forbidden bond, and the traitor girl walks with him. If they rise, they will shatter us all. A hand slammed against the stone table, claws cutting grooves into its surface. Then it is decided. Darius and the girl must die before the blood moon rises. The flames roared higher, swallowing their oath in smoke and shadow. Back in the forest, Selene felt a sudden chill crawl over her skin. She didn't know why, but something told her the bond had painted a target on them both. The night was still, but Selene couldn't shake the chill crawling across her skin. It was as if unseen eyes bore into her from beyond the trees. She wrapped her arms around herself and glanced toward Darius, who sat sharpening a blade by the fire, golden eyes glinting in the dim glow. But it wasn't him she feared. It was something else. A faint rustle caught her ear. She turned sharply. Just beyond the firelight, one of Darius's lieutenants slipped into the shadows. Kale, the broad-shouldered warrior who rarely spoke. His movements were too careful, too precise. Selene's instincts flared. Quiet as breath, she followed. Kale knelt at the edge of the clearing, pressing a carved stone against his palm. Strange runes pulsed faintly on its surface. His voice dropped to a whisper. "They are bound. The council knows. They will move soon." Selene's heart pounded. He was reporting to someone. Betrayal sat in her gut like ice. She took a step closer, but the forest floor betrayed her with a soft crunch of leaves. Kale's head snapped up. In a blur, he was on his feet, eyes flashing, blade half drawn. For a tense heartbeat, predator stared at predator. Selena's wolf surged within her, snarling against the tether of her fear. "You're delivering them our secrets," she accused, voice trembling with fury. Kale's lips curled. "Not our secrets, his." Before she could strike, Kale darted into the trees, impossibly fast, branches whipping in his wake. Selene lunged after him, breath burning, but he moved with the precision of someone who knew every path, every shadow. The chase carried her into a ravine lit by fractured moonlight. Kale slowed, turning to face her. No fear marked his expression, only grim certainty. "You shouldn't be here, Selene," he said quietly. "If you understood what you are, you would run from him, not cling to him." Her wolf snapped inside her chest. "What I am?" she demanded. Kyle stepped closer, the runed stone glowing faintly in his palm. His eyes softened, almost reverent, as he whispered the word that shattered the night. "Luna." The title hit her harder than any blade. Her throat tightened, her breath catching. Luna Queen Mate, Chosen One. But this wasn't said as a title of endearment. It was heavy, laced with prophecy, with destiny. Her knees weakened. "You're lying." Kyle's gaze burned steady. "You are the heart of the prophecy, Selene. Without you, the bond means nothing. With you, it will reshape the packs, or destroy them." Before she could demand more, a low howl split the air. "Darius." The call was sharp, commanding, urgent. Kyle glanced toward the sound, then back at her, jaw tight. "Choose carefully, Luna. Even fate bleeds when wolves fight for it." And then he was gone. His form melted into the shadows, leaving only silence and the ghost of his words. Selene staggered back, the bond with Darius pulling her toward the camp. But her mind was a storm. Betrayal within their ranks. A prophecy that placed her at its center. And a name, a destiny she had never asked for but could no longer deny. As she stumbled back into the clearing, Darius's eyes locked onto her. "Where were you?" he growled, blade still in hand. But Selene couldn't answer. Because for the first time she realized the greatest danger wasn't just outside their camp. It might already be inside her. The fire crackled low in the camp, but Selene barely felt its warmth. Kale's words clung to her skin like frost. "You are the heart of the prophecy." "Luna." Darius's gaze pinned her, sharp as a blade. "Where were you?" he demanded again, stepping closer. His voice was low, dangerous, the kind that commanded truth. Selene swallowed hard. Kale, he was. But the crack of a distant branch silenced her. Both their heads snapped toward the dark tree line. Darius's nostrils flared. His voice was a growl. "He's running!" Without another word, he seized her hand, dragging her into the night. Their wolves surged beneath their skin as they chased the trail up into the mountains, snow crunching beneath their boots. The air grew colder, sharper, the scent of betrayal guiding them higher and higher. Moonlight painted the peaks silver as Kale appeared ahead of them, darting between the jagged cliffs. His form blurred half wolf, half man as he climbed, but he stopped suddenly, turning to face them. His chest heaved and his eyes glowed with something other than fear. "You don't understand what you've done," Kale rasped, voice echoing against the stone. He looked past Darius and fixed his gaze on Selene. "That bond you forged, it isn't meant for him." Selene's breath caught. "What do you mean?" Kyle lifted the runed stone, its glow flickering wildly. "Your true mate bond was tied long before Darius ever touched your soul, to another Alpha, the one who betrayed you." Her world tilted. Her betrayer? Her mate? The thought sent ice through her veins. She shook her head. "No, that's impossible." But Kale's voice carried the weight of certainty. "The prophecy names you, and it binds you not to him, but to the Alpha who cast you out. You belong to another." The words stabbed deeper than any blade. Selene staggered back, her wolf roaring in denial. Darius stiffened beside her, rage simmering in every line of his body. His golden eyes burned, not with doubt, but with something darker. Possession. Fury. "You lie," Darius growled, stepping forward, his claws half-formed. "She is mine. The bond proves it." Kale didn't flinch. He looked at Selene, not Darius. "Ask yourself why your dreams bleed with his past, not yours. Why fate ties you to bloodshed. The truth is—" But he never finished. With a snarl, Darius lunged. His blade flashed under the moonlight, slicing across Kale's throat in a brutal arc. Blood sprayed against the snow, staining it crimson. Selene screamed, stumbling back as Kale's body crumpled, the stone slipping from his hand. The mountains swallowed the sound. Only the wind remained, howling like a dirge. Selene's hands shook as she dropped to her knees beside Kale's body. Her heart thundered. He had been a traitor, but his words rang with truth. She turned toward Darius, horror and fury in her eyes. "Why?" she choked. "He was about to tell me everything." Darius wiped the blood from his blade, his gaze cold and unyielding. "Because some truths are poison, Selene, and I will never let them touch you." His words should have soothed her. Instead, they chilled her to the bone. Because as she looked at Kale's lifeless eyes, she realized one thing with terrifying clarity: Darius hadn't killed out of protection. He had killed out of fear. And Selene couldn't shake the question clawing at her chest. What secret was so dangerous that Darius would rather bury it in blood than let her hear it? The snow was still red when Selene tore her gaze from Kyle's corpse. Her chest heaved, every breath ragged. Her wolf clawed at her insides, restless, rejecting the bond that pulsed between her and Darius like a chain tightening around her throat. "You didn't have to kill him," she whispered, her voice breaking. Darius's eyes glowed with that same molten gold, unyielding. "I did. He was poison. And I will never allow poison near you." But Selene wasn't convinced. Deep within, her wolf growled, a sound not directed at Kale but at Darius. It was a rebellion that left her trembling. That night, as the campfires flickered against the snow, Selene lay awake in Darius's tent, staring at the canvas ceiling. The bond hummed between them, warm and steady, but her wolf recoiled from it, restless. She pressed her hand to her chest as if she could claw it out. Her dreams returned, vivid and merciless. She saw Darius again, not as the Alpha who saved her, but as a beast drenched in blood, his claws sinking into another Alpha's heart. The screams echoed until she woke drenched in sweat, her wolf snarling within her. Outside the camp, shadows stirred. Scouts whispered of movement in the valley below. Her old pack, gathering like storm clouds, preparing for war. Selene's heart twisted. She had once called them family, had bled for them, and now they sharpened their blades with her name on their tongues. At dawn, Darius stood before his warriors, voice thunderous as he promised fire and vengeance against any who dared march against him. The pack howled, but Selene felt only dread. She was caught between two worlds, her wolf pulling her toward her old pack even as her bond tethered her to Darius. That night, the choice was dragged into the light. A guard's alarm rang through the camp. Selene rushed outside just as the warriors circled a figure cloaked in black. Her heart stopped. Mira. Her sister stepped forward, hood falling to reveal sharp eyes glittering like knives. The sight of her flesh and blood, the one who had betrayed her, twisted Selene's insides. "Mira," Selene whispered, voice cracking. But Mira didn't look at her. She looked at Darius, and then, smiling like a serpent, she said, "We don't need to be enemies, Alpha. Hand Selene over to me, and I will give you an alliance strong enough to crush every rival pack that stands in your way." The camp erupted in growls, but Selene froze, her blood turning to ice. Her sister, her betrayer, was standing inside Darius's stronghold, offering him everything he wanted in exchange for the one thing he had sworn never to surrender. And as Darius's golden eyes locked on Mira's, Selene's wolf whispered the fear that clawed at her heart. What if he says yes? The camp went still. Every growl choked off into uneasy silence. Mira's words lingered in the icy air like poison. Selene's breath caught as Darius's golden eyes narrowed, shifting from Mira's smirk to her trembling form. His silence was worse than a refusal. It stretched heavy and dangerous like a blade hovering over her throat. "You would bargain her," one of Darius's lieutenants growled, stepping forward. But Darius lifted a hand, silencing him. He stepped down from the fire-lit dais, circling Mira like a predator tasting the air. "An alliance," he said softly, almost thoughtfully. "One powerful enough to crush every rival pack." His voice trailed, dangerous with consideration. Selene's stomach twisted. Every instinct screamed to run, but she stood frozen as Darius's words fell like stones. Mira's smile sharpened. Exactly. With me by your side, Alpha. No council, no pack, no rival will dare challenge you. But you must give me Selene. Her gaze flicked to her sister, venomous. She doesn't belong in your world. Selena's heart thundered. She searched Darius's face, desperate for any sign of rejection. But all she saw was calculation. And then he said it. Perhaps we can come to terms. Her world crumbled. The bond between them flared painfully, twisting in her chest as if mocking her. Her wolf growled in fury, but Selene heard nothing but the echo of betrayal in his voice. That night, when the camp settled into uneasy sleep, Selene slipped away. She didn't trust herself to wait for Darius's final answer. The snow crunched beneath her boots as she fled into the trees, heart pounding, eyes burning. But freedom was a lie. Shadows moved in the dark, faster than her breath. Hands seized her arms, claws tore into her sleeves. Selene fought, but exhaustion dulled her edge. A rough cloth gag stifled her scream as she was dragged through the forest, bound and helpless. When they finally threw her to the ground, she lifted her head and froze. The faces staring back weren't rogues. They were her old pack. Familiar eyes glared with hatred, men and women she had once called kin now looking at her like prey. A hand reached down, pulling back her hood. Well, well. A voice purred, smooth as silk. Selene's heart lurched. Mira stepped from the shadows, radiant in her triumph, her smile sharp as a blade. She crouched, brushing Selene's hair back with mock tenderness. You didn't think you could run from me forever, did you? Her voice dropped, rich with venom and satisfaction. Welcome home, Sister Luna. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and old pine, as Selene was dragged through the heart of her former pack's camp. Torches lined the clearing, their flames snapping in the night air like hungry mouths. Faces she had once known wolves she had grown up beside stared at her with nothing but hatred, their eyes glittering like shards of ice. Ropes bit into her wrists, cutting her skin raw, but the pain was nothing compared to the weight crushing her chest. This wasn't just capture, this was humiliation. She was being paraded like a traitor through the pack that had once sworn to protect her. Selene, the outcast, a wolf sneered as she was shoved to her knees before the Alpha's dais. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the crowd. She felt their judgment like knives across her skin. Mira stood tall above her, radiant in victory, her golden hair catching the torchlight like a crown. You all thought she was a victim, she announced, her voice sharp, commanding. But look at her now, bound, weak, a traitor who betrayed us for a rogue. The crowd roared, a chorus of snarls and growls vibrating in Selene's bones. Her lips trembled, but she forced her chin up, meeting Mira's cruel smile with defiance. You betrayed me first. A sharp crack echoed as Mira's hand struck her cheek. You never understood your place, Mira hissed, crouching close enough that only Selene could hear. And now I'll remind you. The alpha of the pack, an elder wolf with graying hair and hollow eyes, rose from his seat. His voice carried deep and unyielding. By the laws of the pack, betrayal is punished by death. You will be executed under the next full moon. The words hit Selene like a physical blow. Death, not banishment, not exile. Death. The crowd howled their approval, their bloodlust thick in the air. Chains clinked as they hauled Selene away, locking her inside a stone chamber deep beneath the pack hall. Cold seeped into her bones, but it wasn't fear that made her tremble. It was rage. Rage at Mira. Rage at her pack. Rage at herself for still hearing Darius's voice echo in her chest even now. Hours bled into darkness. Selene's heart beat in rhythm with the heavy chains that bound her ankles, but her wolf inside stirred restlessly, growling for freedom. At dawn, guards stormed in and dragged her into the training yard. The entire pack had gathered again, this time not for judgment, but for a cruel display. Shift, Mira commanded, her voice laced with venom. Show them the beast you are before they end you. Selene closed her eyes, reaching deep into herself, calling to the part of her that had always been unbreakable, the part that had always answered. Her wolf had never failed her. But this time, nothing came. Her skin prickled. Her bones ached for transformation. But the bond between flesh and wolf resisted, silent, unyielding. She gasped, sweat dripping down her temples as she pushed harder, her mind clawing for the shift. The crowd jeered. "She can't!" one shouted. "She's broken!" another spat. Mira's laughter cut through the noise, cold and triumphant. She leaned forward, eyes glittering like a predator. Selene's throat closed as she realized the horrifying truth. Her wolf refused to appear. The jeers of the pack still echoed in Selene's ears, each one a knife twisting deeper. Her chest heaved as she struggled to summon her wolf, but the silence within was absolute. No growl, no stir of power, nothing. Mira's laughter rang like a death knell. "See? She's nothing. Not Wolf, not Luna. Just a hollow shell. Let the execution begin." The crowd roared in approval, their bloodlust rolling through the courtyard like thunder. Chains tightened around Selene's wrists as guards dragged her toward the altar, a slab of stone slick with the memory of blood. She fought against their grip, but her strength failed her. Her wolf's absence left her hollow, half alive. The Alpha Elder stepped forward, raising a ceremonial blade that shimmered in the torchlight. By the law of the pack, her life ends tonight. Selene's heart pounded. Not like this. Not here. Not by their hands. She clenched her jaw, refusing to give them her fear. And then a growl split the night, low, feral, and thunderous. The gates to the courtyard exploded inward with a deafening crash. Wolves scattered as a massive shadow stormed through, his aura rolling over them like a tidal wave. Darius. Blood smeared his jaw, his eyes blazing gold, his very presence bending the air with dominance. His roar silenced the crowd, every wolf instinctively lowering their heads, even those who hated him most. Selene's breath caught. Relief and terror collided in her chest. He came. Darius's gaze locked onto her, chains and all, and something primal flickered in his expression. Then he turned on the Alpha Elder, stepping forward with the lethal grace of a predator. "You call yourselves leaders?" Darius's voice boomed, shaking the night. "You call this justice?" The Alpha Elder bared his teeth. "This is our law. She betrayed us, and she will pay with her life." In an instant, Darius lunged. The clash was brutal, and swift fangs against steel, claws ripping through flesh. The Elder fought with the desperation of one defending his rule. But he was no match. Darius overpowered him, driving him to the ground. The pack gasped as Darius raised his claws for the killing blow. But instead of striking, he stopped. His chest heaved, his gaze cold but calculating. Slowly, he lowered his hand, sparing the Elder's life. "I don't need to kill you to prove my strength," Darius snarled. "But know this, your rule is over." He turned, his golden eyes sweeping over the pack, commanding silence, commanding loyalty. From this night forward, his voice thundered, "I am Alpha here, and she," he pointed to Selene, still chained but unbroken, "is mine." The courtyard erupted in shocked cries, wolves torn between fear and outrage. Selene's blood ran cold as every eye turned to her. Darius hadn't just saved her, he had claimed her fate and her pack in one brutal stroke. The courtyard still trembled with the echo of Darius's declaration, "I am the new Alpha of this pack." His words clung to the air like smoke, choking every wolf into silence. Selene's chains clattered as the guards hesitated, unsure whether to obey their old Alpha or the predator who had just bested him before their eyes. Darius's gaze was unyielding. "Release her," he commanded. The guards faltered but obeyed, unlocking her bonds. Selene stumbled forward, her wrists raw from the iron cuffs. The crowd's eyes bored into her, some wide with fear, others burning with hatred. She could feel the weight of every whisper pressing down on her. "She has no wolf. She is cursed. She'll doom us all." The venom in their voices stung worse than the shackles had. Selene clenched her fists, forcing herself to stand tall, though her wolf's silence still gnawed at her insides. Darius moved to her side, his presence radiating command. He gripped her hand not gently but firmly, like a claim staked in blood. His voice boomed over the murmurs. "She is not your prisoner. She is not your outcast. From this night forth, she is my Luna." The words thundered across the courtyard, undeniable. Wolves exchanged uneasy glances, some bowing reluctantly, while others turned their faces away in disgust. Mira's smirk cut through the crowd like a blade. "A Luna without a wolf?" she said sweetly, her voice dripping poison. "How fitting for a cursed alpha like you, Darius. Together you'll bring only ruin." Darius's eyes flared, but Selene's stomach turned cold. Because Mira's words didn't just spark malice, they ignited fear in the pack, and fear spreads faster than loyalty. That night Selene felt their stares follow her through the camp, whispers trailing like shadows, cursed, doomed, unwanted. Even those who bowed to Darius would not look her in the eye. Inside the Alpha's den, Darius stood tall, unshaken. "Let them talk," he said, his tone steel. "They'll learn." But Selene wasn't so sure. She felt the gap between them widening, the bond binding her to him thrummed in her chest, yet her wolf remained silent, distant. Then as the moon climbed high, the elders called upon the prophecy stone, a relic pulsing with ancient power, said to reveal a Luna's true destiny. Selene's hands trembled as they forced her palms onto its jagged surface. The stone burned with light, shadows swirling within its depths. The crowd held its breath. And then the vision came. Darkness coiled around Selene's image, spilling like ink across the stone. Wolves howled in alarm as a single phrase etched itself in fire upon the rock. "She carries the darkness that will devour us all." Selene's heart slammed against her ribs. Her breath caught. The pack staggered back in horror, and Mira's triumphant laugh rang in her ears. Gasps still rippled through the courtyard as the fiery words of the prophecy stone faded into silence. "She carries the darkness that will devour us all." Selene's palms burned as though the stone had seared her skin, yet the true weight was lodged deeper in her chest, in the silence of the wolf that refused to answer her call. The pack shrank back from her like she was already tainted, already lost. Mira's triumphant laughter slithered into her ears, but Darius's hand on her shoulder was the only anchor she had. Inside the Alpha's den, the whispers followed like phantom claws. Selene sat by the fire, her hands trembling. "Why won't she answer me?" she whispered. "Why won't my wolf come?" Darius crouched before her, his voice low and firm. "The bond is there. I feel it. Whatever game your sister plays, whatever shadows the stone shows, you are mine, Selene, and nothing will change that." But she couldn't silence the gnawing fear in her heart. Something was wrong. It was the healer, an old wolf with silver eyes clouded by age, who sought her out under the shroud of night. His voice was hushed, as though the shadows themselves listened. "Child," he rasped, "there are whispers older than prophecy. Not every wolf born into flesh belongs to the soul it is bound to." Selene froze. "What do you mean?" The healer studied her face, sorrow etched deep in his wrinkles. "I've seen it once before. A wolf that remained silent because it was not hers to call. It was borrowed, bound to her by something forbidden." Her pulse quickened. "Are you saying my wolf doesn't belong to me?" The old man nodded grimly. "Perhaps not. The silence within you, the darkness the stone revealed, it may not be yours. It may be another's wolf, chained to your spirit for reasons only the ancients would dare weave." Her stomach turned cold, her thoughts spinning. If her wolf wasn't hers, whose was it? And what darkness had been forced into her veins? The healer reached for her hand, urgency sparking in his trembling grip. "I can tell you more, but you must listen closely. There is a name you must remember, a truth that Mira seeks to bury. The wolf inside you is—" A rustle outside. A shadow flickered across the den wall. Before he could finish, a dagger sliced the air. It struck fast and silent, burying itself in the healer's chest. His breath hitched, blood bubbled at his lips. He gasped once, eyes wide with horror, before crumpling lifeless to the ground. Selene's scream tore the silence, but by the time Darius burst into the room, the assassin was gone, leaving only the old man's body cooling on the floor, and the half-spoken truth burning in her mind. The healer's body was still warm when Selene knelt beside him, her fingers trembling against his lifeless hand. His words echoed in her mind, sharp as a blade. The wolf inside you is... But the rest was forever swallowed by silence. Darius's grip closed around her shoulders. "Selene, look at me." His voice was steady, but his eyes burned with fury. This wasn't random. Someone silenced him before he could speak. She opened her mouth, but the words tangled in her throat. Before she could respond, a flash of silver tore through the den. Smoke filled her lungs, stinging her eyes. Rough hands yanked her backward. Her cry was muffled as a sack was pulled over her head. "Selene!" Darius's roar shook the walls. Then darkness. When the bag was ripped away, she was no longer in the pack's den. The air was colder, thinner, heavy with the smell of stone and fire. They had brought her deep into the mountains. Torches flickered against jagged walls, illuminating a chamber carved with runes that pulsed faintly as if alive. And standing at the center, Mira. Her sister's lips curved in triumph. "Welcome home, Selene." Selene's chest tightened. "Home? You've dragged me from my pack from a lie," Mira interrupted sharply. "From a wolf that was never truly yours." The words struck like the healer's final whisper. Selene's nails dug into her palms. "What do you know?" Mira's eyes glimmered in the firelight, ancient and cold. "More than that old fool ever could. You've felt it, haven't you? The silence of your wolf, the shadows gnawing at your soul. You were never meant to belong to them, Selene. You are something greater." Selene's heart hammered as Mira stepped closer, voice lowering to a whisper. "You are not fully wolf. The blood in your veins is older. Deeper it is divine. You are half goddess." The chamber spun. Selene stumbled back, shaking her head. "No, that's impossible." Mira's laugh was soft, bitter. "Impossible. Look at yourself, sister. Have you never wondered why the prophecy stone burned only for you? Why even the bond cannot tame the darkness inside you? It is because you were not born of one world, but two." Selena froze. One word tangled in her mind. "Sister?" Mira's smile widened, cruel and victorious. "Yes, Selene. We share the same divine bloodline, the same father. You and I are bound by more than prophecy." She lifted her chin, eyes glittering like obsidian. "We are daughters of the same God." The word sister still clung to the air, sharp and poisonous. Selene's breath came ragged, her pulse echoing in her ears. Mira's declaration rang through her skull, half goddess, daughters of the same God. Selene staggered back, pressing a trembling hand against the rune-carved wall. The symbols throbbed faintly beneath her touch, as if recognizing her blood. "What do you mean?" she whispered. "What God? What bloodline?" Mira's eyes gleamed like obsidian lit by fire. "The truth your pack feared. The truth your precious Darius could never tell you. We are not just wolves, Selene. We descend from the first moon goddess herself." Selene's heart seized. The moon goddess legend, mother of the wolf clans, creator of their kind. She had been taught since childhood that no mortal bore her blood. And yet, something in her bones stirred at Mira's words, a vibration deep and ancient. Mira stepped closer, circling her like a predator savoring the kill. "Why do you think your wolf is silent? It is not silence, it is slumber. The divine power inside you has not yet awakened, but I can wake it." Her hand brushed Selene's cheek, cold and commanding. "All that strength, all that destiny, it should belong to me." Selene jerked away, shaking her head violently. "You want to use me?" Mira's smile curved, sharp as a blade. "Of course I do. Power this pure cannot be wasted on someone who hides in the shadow of a man. You were never meant to be Darius's Luna. You were meant to be a queen, a goddess reborn." Selene's hands fisted at her sides. Rage flared through her, but beneath it was fear. Fear, because part of her believed Mira. The runes under her skin burned when she touched them, and deep inside, something long dormant stirred restlessly. "Stop fighting it," Mira coaxed, voice velvet and venom. "I will awaken your wolf, Selene, and when I do, the packs will kneel, not to you, but to me." Before Selene could respond, Mira's hand pressed flat against her chest. A jolt of searing energy coursed through her veins, blinding, suffocating. Selene screamed as light split across her vision memories, not her own, flooding in. A woman crowned in silver starlight, eyes like galaxies, raising her hands to the moon. The first moon goddess. Selene collapsed to her knees, gasping. The earth itself seemed to tremble beneath her. And then her wolf stirred. A low growl ripped from her throat, raw and primal. Her body convulsed, heat surging through her blood. She raised her head, and when her eyes snapped open, Mira stumbled back in shock. They glowed, not silver, not white, golden, blazing radiant gold, the same as Darius's. The golden light blazed from Selene's eyes, spilling across the cavern like molten fire. Mira staggered backward, her lips parting in awe and fury. No, no, this cannot be. That power, it should have been mine. But Selene barely heard her. The world pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat, ancient energy roaring through her veins like wildfire. Her wolf, silent for so long, howled within her, fierce and unyielding. Then the chamber doors burst open. Darius stormed in, his presence cutting through the chaos like a blade. His own golden eyes flared as they met Selene's, and for a heartbeat, the world seemed to stop. "You've awakened it," he rasped, his voice thick with both wonder and dread. Selene stumbled to her feet, her glow flickering like a flame in a storm. "Darius, what is this? Why are your eyes like mine?" A muscle in his jaw clenched. He looked at Mira, then at Selene, as if the truth itself scorched him. "Because I am cursed, just as you are." The words slammed into her harder than any blow. Darius's gaze darkened, the golden fire in his irises burning hotter. "These eyes, they are the mark of the fated, chosen by the moon goddess herself to carry both her blessing and her doom. Our fates are bound, Selene. If you do not claim me fully, if we are not united before the blood moon passes, the curse will devour us both." Selene's breath hitched. "United? How?" His voice dropped to a growl, equal parts desperation and need. "By bond, by vow, by fire and blood. Only then can we survive what is coming." Mira let out a sharp laugh, though it rang hollow. How poetic! The mighty Darius reduced to begging a half-blood to save his wretched soul. "Tell her. Alpha, tell her what happens if she refuses." Darius's fists clenched. His voice trembled, not with weakness but with the weight of truth. "If you deny me, Selene, if you deny us, then at the next blood moon, we burn, both of us, our souls consumed." The cavern fell into silence, broken only by Selene's ragged breathing. The bond between them stretched taut, glowing threads of unseen fire tying their hearts, their fates, their very lives together. She shook her head, torn between rage and terror. "I never asked for this." "No one asks fate," Darius whispered. His hand hovered near hers, trembling with the restraint of a man desperate not to break her further. "But it has chosen us, and if you will not choose me, we will both die." Before Selene could answer, the ground shuddered. A strange light bled through the cracks in the cavern walls, painting everything in a deep, ominous red. Selene turned slowly toward the opening above. Her stomach dropped. The moon was rising, and it bled. The blood moon rose higher, spilling its crimson light through the cracks of the cavern. The air thickened, heavy with ancient power, vibrating through Selene's bones. Her wolf clawed at the inside of her chest, restless, alive, warning her of the darkness stirring. Mira's laughter slithered through the chamber, cold and triumphant. "Do you feel it, sister? The moon calls for sacrifice, and I intend to give it blood." Her hands lifted, palms glowing with an oily black shimmer. From the shadows themselves, shapes began to crawl, elongated, twisted wolves with eyes like burning coals. Their howls echoed unnaturally, each note scraping against Selene's soul like a blade. Selene stumbled back, her heart pounding. These were not natural wolves. They were forged from darkness, wolves of shadow, bound to Mira's will. "Selene!" Darius stepped in front of her, his golden eyes blazing. The crimson light of the blood moon painted his skin in fire, every line of muscle and strength screaming defiance. "Stay behind me." But Selene could feel it. Mira's power had multiplied. Even Darius's strength might not hold against the oncoming storm. The shadow pack circled them, growling low, their forms flickering between beast and smoke. "You can't fight them all," Selene whispered, fear bleeding into her voice. "Then choose," Mira snarled. Her shadow wolves closed in, their snarls vibrating the stone walls. "Choose, sister. Him." She pointed her blade toward Darius. "Or them your pack. You cannot have both." Selene's throat constricted. She could feel the tether to Darius burning between them, alive and desperate. But behind Mira's words lay a truth that twisted the knife deeper. If she bonded with Darius fully, she would be severed from her old pack forever. They would see her as enemy, not kin. Darius growled low, stepping closer, his body shielding hers. "Don't listen to her. Whatever fate throws at us, we face it together." His voice was iron, but his eyes betrayed fear not of death, but of losing her. The shadow wolves lunged. Darius met them head-on, his claws ripping through the first wave, golden fire clashing against Mira's darkness. Selene's wolf surged within her, demanding release, demanding she fight. But before she could shift, Mira moved. With the speed of a serpent, she darted forward, her obsidian blade glinting under the blood moon's light. Selene screamed as steel met flesh. Darius's roar shattered the cavern. His body jerked as Mira's blade drove deep into his side, crimson spilling across his tunic. His knees buckled, but his hand still clutched Selene's, refusing to let go even as his strength faltered. "Darius!" Selene cried, her golden glow flaring wildly as the bond seared her heart with his pain. Mira's lips curved into a cruel smile. So much for fate. "Darius!" Selene's scream tore through the cavern, raw and broken as his body sagged against her. His blood soaked her hands, warm and endless, painting her palms crimson. His golden eyes flickered, dimming, yet his fingers clutched hers as though refusing to release her even to death. Mira wrenched her obsidian blade free, her smirk triumphant. "The bond dies with him. Without your wolf, without your mate, you are nothing." Something inside Selene snapped. Her grief, her rage, her love, all the pain she had endured since her exile erupted at once. Her body shook violently as her wolf surged forward, but it wasn't just her wolf. The air crackled, humming with ancient energy. Light spilled from her skin in searing waves bright enough to cast shadows into retreat. The shadow wolves froze mid-lunge, their smoky forms shuddering as if torn apart from within. Mira's eyes widened. "No, it can't be." Selene rose slowly. Darius's body cradled against her chest. Her golden aura intensified, her hair lifting in the current of unseen winds. Her grief had cracked something open, an ancient power long buried in her bloodline, the essence of the moon goddess herself. Her scream became a roar. The cavern trembled as light exploded outward, obliterating the shadow wolves one by one. They shattered like glass, their howls cut short as they dissolved into ash. Mira shielded her eyes, her smirk gone, replaced with fear. Selene's glow only grew stronger, but so did the fury coursing through her veins. It wasn't just strength, it was madness, the raw, untempered wrath of the divine. Her vision blurred, painted in gold and crimson as her mind threatened to unravel. "Selene, stop!" Mira's voice wavered, for once trembling. "You'll destroy everything, you'll destroy yourself." But Selene could no longer hear. The bond seared inside her, burning with Darius's fading heartbeat. Every breath he didn't take was a dagger twisting into her chest. Her wolf howled inside her head, yet it wasn't her wolf alone. 1,000 voices seemed to echo within her, women, warriors, goddesses screaming for vengeance. She turned toward Mira, her golden light flaring until the very stones of the cavern glowed. Mira staggered backward, her blade trembling in her hand. For the first time, she looked small, afraid. But Selene didn't strike her. Instead, she dropped to her knees, pulling Darius's limp body closer. Her power dimmed just enough to reveal her face, streaked with tears, her chest heaving. She pressed her forehead to his, begging, pleading, her voice cracking. "Don't leave me. Not like this. Please." The golden glow in her eyes surged again, brighter, sharper, dangerous. Her body shook as if torn between love and fury, life and destruction. Mira whispered, almost reverent, "The goddess has awakened." The cavern fell into silence. Ash from the obliterated shadow wolves drifted like black snow settling on the stone floor. Only Selene's ragged breaths broke the stillness. She held Darius close, her golden eyes blazing, her tears soaking his bloodied chest. Her power hummed dangerously, alive with fury and grief, threatening to consume everything. But in that chaos, a single thought pierced through. "I won't let him go." The moon above, visible through a jagged crack in the cavern ceiling, seemed to pulse with silver light, as if answering her plea. The voice of 1,000 goddesses whispered inside her, "Blood fades, but souls endure. Bind him, Selene. Claim him, forever." Her hands trembled as she pressed them over Darius's heart. "If it damns me, so be it. I choose you." A searing golden glow erupted, pouring from her chest into his. Her body arched as the bond tore wide open, deeper and more dangerous than any mate link. This was no ordinary tie, it was a merging of essence, a fusion of wolf and goddess, soul to soul. The cavern shook, pebbles raining down, as if the earth itself recoiled from the power she unleashed. Darius gasped. His body jerked violently before his eyes snapped open, flaring gold. His breath came in sharp, painful bursts, but life returned to him, pulsing strong and undeniable. Their gazes locked, both pairs of golden eyes glowing, twin flames burning against the darkness. "Selene." His voice was hoarse but full of awe. "What did you do?" "I bound us," she whispered, her lips trembling. "Forever." Before he could respond, Mira's shriek cut through the air. "No!" She charged with her blade raised, fury blazing in her eyes. But this time she didn't face a broken Luna or a wounded Alpha. She faced two beings, fused by divine power and mate bond, radiating unstoppable strength. Darius caught her strike midair, his claws sparking with golden fire. Selene's hand rose, her aura wrapping around Mira like chains of moonlight. Together, in perfect synchronicity, they turned Mira's own shadows against her, stripping her of her power. With one final strike, Mira was thrown to the ground, her weapon shattering. She screamed as her shadows dissolved into nothingness. The cavern's walls echoed with her defeat. Outside, the pack drawn by the quake of battle gathered. They watched as Selene and Darius stepped from the cavern, golden eyes blazing side by side. No words were needed. The pack dropped to their knees, one by one, heads bowed in submission. For the first time, Selene stood not as an exile, not as a cursed Luna, but as a queen claimed in blood, fire, and love. But as she tilted her gaze to the heavens, the triumph froze in her chest. The moon loomed impossibly close, its silver light spilling across her face, and from its glow came a whisper, soft but thunderous inside her mind. "This is only the beginning."